This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Tech, show number 150, recorded on January 9th, 2014. Here at Home Tech, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the Average Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska, and we post the show with world-class show notes each week out at the AverageGuy.tv. If you have questions or comments and even contributions for the show, you can contact the show via email. Just send me an email, Jim at the AverageGuy.tv. You can find me on Twitter at jcollison. Or you can now call those questions in. I'm trying this new call-in number. Nobody took me up on it last week. Nobody called in. So you guys can call in crank if you want, just to see if crank messages if you want. But try this, 402-478-8450. That's my Google Voice number. And if even crank calls would be fine with me. Give me a call. Now everybody is going to just crank me this week. It'll be fun. And if it's a good question, we'll play it right here on the show and give you an opportunity to get your questions in. And we are also now using Chatwing for our chat provider. If you've come here for the first time in the last 2 weeks, you'll notice, hey, what's going on here? You can log in with Facebook, Twitter, Google, or Chatwing, or just be a guest. Ken out there is saying he had to work on getting his avatar. If you log in as a guest, you can't control your avatar, but if you log in with any of those other services, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or Chatwing, you can kind of dictate what that avatar looks like. We also now have a Live 2 option, so if you go out to the AverageGuy.tv/Live 2, that's a little better of a fit. We're going to talk about the Surface here a little bit later, but that's a little better fit for your Surface, for the Surface screen, or even an iPad turned into portrait mode. So if you want to try that, that is on Live 2. And we also, I also have a chat window. So if you go to the AverageGuy.tv/chat, that's just a window with just the chat if you want it. There's also a red little box that allows you to pop that out. You used to have to go to livestream.com/thepodcast, and you could pop it out from there. Now you can just pop it out right from the AverageGuy.tv/live. Look for the red box in the upper right-hand corner of chat. And, of course, all this is available out at the AverageGuy.tv. All right, excited for tonight. Back podcasting after another week, and I have Michael Crump here. Michael's a fellow Microsoft MVP, and I met Michael a couple months ago now while we were doing interviews out at the Heartland Developer Conference here in Omaha. Michael, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so very much for having me, Jim. It is an absolute pleasure to be back for the third time.
Yeah, it's good. Third, including the Heartland Developer one.
I'm including it.
Heartland Developer, then one we were talking pre-show 139 is Michael before. So after you get done with this, if you haven't listened to 139, go back and listen to that. But Michael's a fellow geek and is all things tech and all things gadget. And the interview I did with him at Heartland Developer Conference went a little long. We actually went a little long last time as well because we enjoy talking about the things that are all tech related. Michael, did you follow CES very carefully? I mean, I know that's probably the most covered tech event on the planet. Did you follow?
I followed a lot of it through Flipboard. Believe it or not. So I was kind of jealous of some of the people that I know that actually went to CES, and I was looking through their Twitter stream, kind of seeing what they were saying and stuff like that. But I've been using Flipboard like crazy here lately, and it's just so easy to get the best of CES without having to wade through all of the just random, some of the boring stuff that I don't care anything about, like a new vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. A bendable vacuum cleaner. Right? A 4K microwave.
Exactly.
Who did you follow? So who gives you the best coverage for something like that? Who do you really like?
Well, I've actually been covering Telerik CSO, which is Stephen Forte. So Stephen, he's been tweeting, and basically most of it has been through his Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
So so he'll post Instagram pictures of like the latest tech, and makes me want to be there. And
well, you probably could have gotten there. Dave McCabe, who's my host over at the HomeServerShow.com, he was supposed to go. this time, and it's so much snow in Indianapolis. Of course, the flights on Sunday were
Oh
all
yeah,
messed up, right,
it
everywhere.
was a mess.
Yeah.
And well, there was a huge mess for everybody trying to go into get into Code Mash, which was in Sandusky, Ohio. They were having some issues there, and so I remember just seeing all the tweets coming through from that. Um, so yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah,
painful.
it was a bad week. If you didn't get there on Saturday, you probably weren't making it into Vegas for most
Exactly.
people. It was that's a lesson learned. Get into Vegas early, type thing, and make sure that goes off. Michael, for folks who don't know you, even though we had you on before, give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, who you work for, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Michael Crump. I'm an MVP, and I've been an MVP for several years now. And I've been an MVP in Silverlight, even though I'm going to be soon moved to client development,
Okay, good, good.
as they are
Yeah,
phasing the Silverlight MVP
right.
expertise away. But I work at Telerik. A lot of people are familiar with Telerik from the types of UI components that they build, and also some of the testing and CMS, and some of the other products that Telerik is known for, like Kendo. So a lot of people may be familiar with Telerik from that area. I work primarily with everything that we build that is XAML and mobile. So I'm into pretty much all of the mobile technologies, and somebody will actually pay me for it.
That's not a bad place to be. That's not a bad place to be. I mentioned earlier in the show I'm getting an opportunity to podcast now with Gallup. It's not a bad deal to get paid for what you love to do. You know?
Exactly. And at Telerik, I mean, it's an absolutely, you're working with some of the best and smartest, people in the industry, and every single day, it's great to be on a call with 15, 20 guys, and every single person you're learning something from every call. So yeah, that's kind of the short of what I do. Outside of that, everything from any type of magazines, developer magazines primarily, I write for. MSDN, Digital Studio Magazine, Code Magazine, Dev Pro Connections. Speak at a lot of conferences. I was in Sweden for OraDev, Bulgaria for DevReach, then just all throughout the United States for just various types of conferences. And I speak primarily on mobile technologies. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell.
Is there any development being done anywhere else at this point, to be honest? I mean, nobody does Windows development anymore, so right? That's what it's
Yeah,
at. If you're a developer,
exactly.
you got to be into mobile. I mean, we still do a lot of Java and a lot of C# at the enterprise level, and so there's probably
Absolutely.
still a lot of enterprise development being done. Oracle, of course, is big in that space as well. So if you want to, those Oracle developers are always, few and far between, making good money and doing
They're
what they're
making
doing as
really
well.
good
But
money.
they really are. So there still is a lot of development out there in enterprise, but mobile is kind of where the sexy, the sexy development is. I want to and I'll put this in chat. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. You did a blog post, technologies that you're excited about for 2014. I think for this crowd that normally joins my show, they're pretty excited or pretty interested in a lot of these things. Let's just kind of roll through these. You mentioned it in
Okay,
the pre-show.
sounds great.
You're pretty excited about wearables, and you got one of those for Christmas. So tell me about what you got and why you're excited about it.
Yes, so I got the Pebble smartwatch, and I did bring my gadgets with me this time.
Oh,
So
good.
last time I was actually looking all over the place for them. Hopefully that comes through pretty well.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
I'm going
That
to actually
works.
switch over,
I can
and
see myself in it when you hold it up to the
you
screen.
can see that you can change the different type of watch faces.
This is the Pebble, right?
Yeah, this is the Pebble smartwatch. And so there's the different types of watch faces that you can add, but then there's also another menu here, and this is where you can start controlling things like your music. Then there's notifications, so like your iPhone or your Android device, and even Windows Phone. There is a Windows Phone app will use Bluetooth and send you like your latest tweets to your emails, to SMS messages. You can even answer your phone through the watch. There's an alarm that's built in. Obviously, the backlight just kicked in as I switched to the next one. There's settings. I'm actually running the beta, and so what you see here, this is called Smartwatch Pro, and this is an app. So there's two apps that I've installed on here already, and if I go back to this Smartwatch Pro app, you'll see that it will let you do things like display the battery to finding your phone, and I'll just navigate back up.
You're doing a nice job of navigating for doing it through the camera.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just figuring this out somehow. So let me try my luck again. So there is the calendar at the top. There's Twitter. There's music. There's reminders, location, HTTP requests, back to the battery in the phone. But there's a whole set of apps that you can use for this. But some of the neat things about this watch is that you can kind of see these are just the three buttons. And then if you flip it over, there's a USB. This right here is actually the power. Oops. This is the power. These two little silver pieces.
Yeah.
And from here, the band on the actual watch, you can take this off and put on the still band, because they just released it was just notified that they just notified everybody that there's a new Pebble watch that's coming out, and with that new watch, basically it already comes with the still wrist straps, but you can modify your existing one without having to do any of that. But right now they're allowing developers. This is the beta 2 that they're about to roll out at the end of this month, and I've been looking at programming and starting to build some of these apps that's going to be working with this. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff you can do. You can set the silent alarms and things like that where you don't want to disturb your partner. I mean, it's just kind of amazing. So when we started seeing a brand new market emerge with all of our smartphones, we had all these new apps. And then the operating systems like Windows 8, you started to have the Windows 8 or Windows RT apps, and then Mac kind of had their Mac store going on for a while. So now the wearables is going to be, or the watches, they're going to be developers building apps, and they're going to be for sale. So that's just a brand new market that's completely untapped right now at this moment. So people are going to be jumping on this like crazy, and I've already been looking at building my first app. But unfortunately, most of my ideas that I've had, people have already started implementing them, and they're already further ahead than I am. But Pebble is really great at giving the developers the very latest tools and things that they need to build for that. But there's many smartwatches out there.
And that was a Kickstarter program, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was a Kickstarter. I actually bought this watch at Best Buy for $90 because I still do some university work where I teach C# to university students at my local university. So they gave me a coupon. Anybody that was either a student or teaches and things like that, they gave them a coupon for it wound up being like $50 off. So this was like a $150 watch, and I don't know how much it is right now, but I was able to get it for about $90, and I thought that was like a steal. And then obviously they came out with a brand new watch, just announced just a couple of days ago, and I'm like, oh. But it doesn't matter. I can still run the same software that those guys are running, and I can change out the bands. I mean, I have nicer watches that I could use if I, if I really
That's a
need
relic.
to.
What is that? That's a relic. That tells time? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Hey, a couple questions from the chat room. One is, any idea on the range, the Bluetooth range on that?
Yeah, it actually works pretty well. It's your typical Bluetooth range. Now, most of the time, I haven't been further than so 90% of the time, the phone is in my pocket, and the watch obviously is on my wrist. But the other times where I'm disconnected and maybe I've set my phone on the kitchen table, I could at least walk around living room and bedroom and some of the other parts of my house and still be able to get notifications. And that's not really that far. In that circumstance, it's probably about, I don't know, 15, 20 feet, something like that. So I'm not sure what the exact range is on it, but if you just kind of probably if you just looked up like the Bluetooth range, because it uses the latest Bluetooth 3, because there's only iPhone 5 supports it, and certain models of the Android phone uh, supports it.
And
Anybody that can support it, the 3.
what's the back end of that? I mean, what are they using for software on there?
What's the software that's on
Yeah.
there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the operating system is actually called.
Okay. But it's not an Android fork or anything like that.
Not that I know of. No, no. So when you develop for this, you can use everything from JavaScript to Objective C to C Sharp to Java, just pure
Okay.
pure Java. So you get all of the flavors to develop for, and people are already building apps like crazy, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So what people do is they normally buy the phone. The phone, they're trying to do the coolness of just having like this little 2-page instruction manual. So you get nothing with the box. So you have to figure out a lot of the stuff on your own, and I'm hoping that in later versions they don't do that. But you have to go out to the App Store, download the Pebble app. After you download the Pebble app, then you have access to the watch faces, which makes you download another app where you can change your watch face to literally, there's thousands of them available for the 1.0 release. I mean, literally 1,000 different types of watch faces. I mean, you can put Batman. I had different Star Wars characters on my phone for a while until I went to 2.0, because at 2.0 there wasn't very many people that had built watch faces yet. But yeah, it's very interesting technology. I think that this is just one of the watches. There's a lot of them that's coming out. I can see myself at least you know buying another one or two this year. I usually try to get rid of a lot of my junk off of on Craigslist.
Yeah, we all do.
Closer to
We buy it and then sell it on Craigslist, right?
Yeah, closer towards when I hit about the mid December, late November, somewhere around in that area, I began to start selling stuff. So I sold like my Surface. I had multiple Surface ones. I sold off all of my Surface devices because I bought a Surface 2. So I started selling all this stuff, and my wife's like, "Yeah, okay, it's time to recoup some of this cost you've been
Yeah.
on crap you've been buying." So yeah, I will be selling my Pebble watch eventually.
So a couple more questions. Does it have a vibrate alarm?
Yes,
On it?
absolutely.
Does
So
it have a mic and a speaker?
mic and a speaker, unfortunately, it does not. So you can't, whenever there is a phone call, the only thing you can do is actually just answer the call. I mean, you hit a button to answer the call, and it answers it on your phone itself. So, you know, you pick up your phone and the call is already active, or you can decline the phone call from your watch. So you just hit the top button right up here to accept, and this one declines.
And that'll work with any Android phone, or any? Does it have?
It needs to be a more of a later type of model.
Okay.
At least Bluetooth 3 is the bare requirements. Anything, I would say pretty much any device that's been released within the past year and a half or so is probably going to work.
And how is it different, or have you looked at the new Galaxy offering from a watch standpoint?
Yeah, I've looked at the Galaxy. The Galaxy is awesome. The only problem with that is that it really matches well if you have a Galaxy phone. If you have a Galaxy phone and you have the watch, I mean, it's beautiful. It has a color screen versus this one, which has two beautiful colors. I would much prefer the color screen. The other thing about the Galaxy is battery life. you're doing really good to get a full day of battery life. It's just like a smartphone. I'm still at the point right now, I carry around, 4 different phones most of the time. I use an iPhone and I use an Android. I use Windows Phone 8. Really, the iPhone's probably right now one of my worst of being able to use Bluetooth and run a couple of background apps and survive for a full day. This actually survives for 7 days on a full charge, and I've tested that because they claimed that it would last 7 days. It was kind of like the Fitbit when Fitbit 1 came out. They said that, hey, you guys are going to be able to use these things for 6 or 7 days without charging. A lot of people, question that, and I'm here to say, even with the Fitbit, this is the one. I've been able. You can see how active I've been today. That was the little flower hasn't moved very much or grown, but yeah. So it is a full 7 days with that as well. So that's pretty cool. The Galaxy's nowhere near that.
Will it pair with the Bluetooth? Not pair, I guess, but when we talk about an earpiece that somebody might use, that would pair to the phone as well as the watch. So you might get a phone call, you can choose to deny it or accept it on both the phone and on the watch, and it'll automatically sync to the Bluetooth device, the earpiece.
Yeah, if it's paired, if both of them are already paired to the device, you could go ahead and hit the accept button on your watch, and your Bluetooth piece that you have that's on here would see that call has been accepted, and you could start speaking. So you really don't even have to reach into your pocket.
Yeah, very nice. No, that's a good. I like that. I think we're finally getting to a point where some of this stuff is actually usable. It's been kind of cheesy up until this point with some of that stuff.
It is, and I mean, like right now, I mean, there's a ton of problems. What's so funny is that a lot of people have been like, oh, well, can show me something cool that's been happening, with this thing, and so like I have a list of Pebble apps that's on my phone here. Maybe this side you can kind of see it.
There you go.
The official Pebble app, which is this one right here. Whoops. This one right here. When I run it, crashes. Oh. So there is now. This is the beta. They sent me a beta IPA to play with, and it right now is crashing. And so far, I've not been able to get it paired back. I do know how to fix it, and that's to go in and uninstall the IPA, the iPhone application that they gave me, and then reinstall it, and then it'll repair and it'll work again. But the beta, it's just like everything. It's just there's a way to go.
Sure. I'm really interested in you talking, or us spending some time talking about the Surface, because you had just picked one up and you'd put in the show notes, Surface 2, is it really worth it? Tell me a little bit about your Surface journey over the last couple months.
Yeah, so I bought the Surface 1. No, I got the Surface 1 build when they were giving them away for free. And then I bought another Surface Pro when I was at Tech Ed. And then I was given a Surface that was actually in the box on the last podcast. I hadn't actually taken it out. It wasn't a Surface. It was a ThinkPad Windows 8 tablet. But I really didn't use the Surface that much, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I built an app. I deployed it. It was in the store. I kind of felt, I did what I was set out to do. I wanted to build an app. I wanted to see what the platform was like. I was talking a lot about Windows 8. I even talked about Windows 8 at HTC last year, and I'm really still interested in Windows 8. It's just, there's so much technology. I mean, it's kind of like, where do I pick, and so I bought the Surface 2 because we had a special deal at the MVP event, and you were there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw your tweets.
Did you go?
Yes, I was there.
How did we miss each other?
We missed each other because I did not stay for the entire event.
Okay.
The week before, I was actually out for like 6 or 7. I was traveling like a madman. Like I was going like way too much. I was in Sweden, and then I was at home for like Sweden, and then I was at home for like a day or two, and then I was in San Francisco for DEF CON. And then after that, it was the MVP Summit, and like all of these things were lined up together, and I was like, okay, this is just too much. So I went to the sessions, and I met with the teams, and I got the info that I was looking for. I had went to an event prior to that that gave me some of the information that I needed, so I just decided to leave early.
Okay.
So that's how I missed you. But yeah,
That's too bad. It would have been good to see you there.
Well, exactly. I would like to have chatted again, so in person. So yeah, so with the Surface 2, so far I'm liking it. One of the things that I think most people, I don't know if they know about or may not know about, but you get 200 gigs, I believe, of data of SkyDrive
Yeah.
with it. So I was one of the fortunate ones that I was at Build when they gave away 100 gigs of lifetime SkyDrive, and I got that voucher, redeemed that, obviously before Telerik took it from me. It's funny is that a lot of those guys watch the show, so they'll be oh, you took that.
It's just 100 gig. You can buy it for $10 or something.
Yeah, it's not that bad. So yeah, so I took that, and so you get that. So anyway, with the Surface 2, I have been enjoying it. I loved, obviously 8.1 is ready to go. There was a lot of pain points that I had saw from people that was upgrading, and I never experienced this. So I never upgraded my my Surface 1 to Windows 8.1. I never went through that process, and people were complaining about firmware problems. This is through Twitter, so who knows? People complain about everything on Twitter. So I never went through all of that. I was I basically sold my devices after I wiped them, and then I got the Surface 2, and I've been using the Surface 2 ever since. Obviously, I got the free touch cover that all of the MVPs were given there at the event. So,
which is just horrific. It's terrible. That's awful.
It's pretty terrible, and to be honest with you, like if I switched my camera and turned it around, you would see it like, well, if I opened my closet, like tossed up in the closet somewhere, because one of those things that I probably won't ever use. But overall, I do like the Surface 2 device. I think that it is another step forward. You know, there's been some leaked screenshots of some 8.2 stuff that's going to be basically, the rumor is that Build this year, which occurs in April, they're going to give everybody 8.2. I mean, that's just a rumor.
Nice.
I absolutely do not know that through my MVP status or anything like that, because we're under 1 million NDAs.
I know. So many I can't keep track. So I try not to listen to anything. That way I can talk about anything and not feel bad about it. And I wonder if I can claim ignorance on my NDA. Oh, I don't know.
Sorry. Well, hey, like today I tweeted Windows Phone 8 users get the free Windows 8.1 upgrade. That some big publication had found that information out. So, hey, it's a rumor. I'm not sure. If that's true or not. My MVP didn't tell me that. So
have you heard any rumors of what's coming in 8.2? That just on the surface? No pun intended there.
Yeah, no, not really. The screenshots were kind of more of a blur, and it was more of a, well, hey, you're getting 8.2, so this is something to be excited about. Obviously, a lot of people are talking more and more and more about the convergence, of these platforms. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we don't know at this point.
I think we can safely say, and I don't know anything either. I've been so out of the MVP channels lately. I don't know, so I'm speculating myself. But I think we're going to see, we'll see this beta release in the spring time frame that will go live in the September-October time frame. They seem to be on a regular cadence now, which is really nice with that. And so I think it'll upgrade those devices. I think we'll see Surface go to 8.2, and we'll see Surface 2 go to 8.2 for sure. And I think it will, like you said, it'll continue to bring. I think there's a lot of back end stuff, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, that are bringing the phone and the Surface closer together. So I think we'll see more of that integration.
And they're going to have to. They're going to have to. I mean, hands down. I mean, you open up Apple, a Mac, you load Xcode, which is their IDE. There's a universal app type that will create a project that is targeted for iPhone and for the iPad, and you write the code once, and it works. Well, you have to make some changes, obviously, with the UI because of the different form factors on the iPad and the iPhone. But that universal app template is just something that in order to succeed, you've got to have both. I mean, you've got to be running, on the tablets, and you've got to be running on the phone. And Android has really already nailed that. Down pat. I have one app that's in the Android store, and that app was an app that I think I talked about it on the last time. It's just kind of a crappy app that I made.
Mm-hmm.
But that app, it will actually say this app will run on 4,000 devices, and that this app isn't optimized for tablet. Here's what you need to do in your source code in order to optimize this for tablets. So everybody is already pushing towards, you write one project or you have one solution, and inside that one solution, you're developing for both phone and tablets.
Yeah, I think we got to get that. We got to get to that point. Let's say, though, for the most part, Android, while it's nailed it on both the phone and the tablets, they're not selling any tablets. I mean, no one's buying the Galaxy Tab, the Tab devices, right? I mean, those Android phones have been wildly accepted and are just killing it, but the tablet hasn't, where the iPad is really the leader. By the way, I'll say, if you pull out your Surface and you go to the averageguy.tv/live2 and you turn that into portrait mode, I actually wrote that page to be optimized for the Surface. So you can get the video, you can get the chat, and the on-screen keyboard will pop up, and none of them will cover each other. So I wrote that just for the Surface too. Well,
yeah. I mean, and I mean, that's the thing that people want. I mean, the tablets are one thing. So, like, one of the things that I had said in my technologies that I'm excited about was about how right now Android is just killing it with the phones, and there is so many cheap smartphones, and so I'll go into like random stores, and like I'll just look and see what the prepaid options are. So I go into like a gas station or something, I'll look at like their prepaid phones. They are always all really early versions of Android, and so the Moto G, I think, is one of the ones that I had talked about. I just flipped over to my webpage. The Moto G was one of them that is a steal at that price, and then there's the Moto X, which is a little bit better, and then there's the bad boy of them all, which I'm actually lucky enough to own, and that's the Nexus 5. So with the Nexus 5, you have pretty much this has the Snapdragon processor in it, and so this is one of my latest toys. But this is just a really powerful phone, and this is the 32 gig model, and it was only $399, and the Moto G is right around the same price, but it's I'm not exactly sure why they were charging it, why they're the same exact price. The one benefit by just buying the Nexus 5 is that it's an LG phone, and the thing is rock stable. I bought this case like for $10 or whatever off Amazon, and it's a pretty solid case. But the phone is just huge. I mean, you compare this, like to the iPhone, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of pales in comparison, doesn't it? If you like screen real estate. Now the 399, is that locked or unlocked or on
Unlocked,
unlocked?
completely,
All right.
completely 100% unlocked. And so the reason that I bought it that way was that, of course, whenever I leave the United States, my iPhone is locked. It's locked to T-Mobile, which I'm not happy about, and obviously T-Mobile doesn't exist everywhere.
Right.
So I have to have a GSM phone that I can use because when I visit another country or whatever, I will go in and I'll find a prepaid card and I'll just buy the data plan only because I don't need the voice. I don't need text or anything like that. I'll buy the data plan only, and that will get me by in case for some reason I get lost like I usually do. Um, can't figure out where.
It's
What
good to
is?
have a map when you're in a foreign country. That's a good thing to have. I actually, when I was in Germany this last spring, I got away with I had the Lumia 920 with me, and I had no data, no service, and the map still worked, and that got me by while I was a couple times I got really lost,
Yeah, well,
and that got
it's
me
easy.
through.
It's easy to. I mean, you get out and you start wandering or went around. I will say that a couple of years ago, I was with a colleague of mine, and we got lost in Bulgaria, and that was kind of a scary kind of feeling because this was. I'm really thinking that this was 2011 when this happened, and we didn't have. I don't know what phones we were carrying at that point, but they weren't very good ones because we were literally walking around. We neither one of us had data plans, so obviously you can tell I learned my lesson after that to make sure that I have some way to get access to the internet wherever I'm at. But we got lost in Bulgaria. Eventually, we found a spot and he was able to Skype and get the text and tell the person, "Hey, we're completely lost right now.
Yeah,
We're
help
complete
us.
idiots.
Well, in Bulgaria, right? I think it's one of those Eastern European
Yeah,
nations that
we're
they don't
we're
even use their alphabet is completely different.
yeah, we're two stupid Americans that have wandered around, and now we're completely lost. And it's a weird, because like in the U.S., I get lost, and because I travel around, so you get out, you go visit, you just see things and whatnot. Well, I always have a GPS, and I'm always in my safe comfort zone here. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter where I go, I can always find my way back to the hotel.
Yeah.
But when I walk outside of these walls or I cross that Atlantic Ocean, then it's all bets off. It's go find a prepaid SIM card, and I need a phone that supports that.
Who do you
So
use in Europe when you're over there? What do you have a certain provider? We used O2, but
I use absolutely whatever is in the
okay, the
whatever.
kiosk at the
Yeah,
airport.
whatever is there, and I don't mind paying premiums.
Yeah.
At this point, even exchange rates, I've learned. I may have also made stupid mistakes of not getting my money changed in time when I visited, a foreign country. So
Right.
now I will pay the exchange rates gladly. That way, I have some sort of money on me, and don't get any weird, awkward situations where a taxi driver is
Yeah.
about to punch me.
Yeah, or take you on a ride
Exactly.
that you will never come back from. Let's talk about unlocked phones real quick. Do you think 2014 is a year that we break through, at least here in the United States, this idea of locked phones
Uh,
and we get more unlocked options?
I would love to say that, but the carriers are just. I know that right now there's a lot of this with T-Mobile. T-Mobile's trying this. Well, we're going to pay your termination fees. This is kind of one of their latest kind of deals type of things, to get you like out of contract and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the locking of phones in the United States, there's just a lot of money to be made. I mean, even the iPhone 5C, which is another phone that I talked about, I was actually going to buy that unlocked. And it was $549. And I knew that everybody originally thought that the iPhone 5C was just the C stood for cheap. Obviously, it doesn't. It means for
Nope.
color.
Yeah.
But I looked at the iPhone 5. I wanted it unlocked, 549. And then obviously my next choice, for that is the Nexus 5 is just a much more powerful device. I mean, in terms of the screen, I mean the screen's 1080p. It's just a beautiful device, and I can get a lot for my money for $400. And actually, the Moto G would have been another option, for that as well. The only option is, when you stay on these one phones or Windows Phone or whatever, is really, if you're stuck with like a certain app that you just can't get. And now we're seeing finally, Instagram, hit Windows Phone 8. I had a friend that had a Windows Phone 7 device still, and they were looking for Instagram, and it was only for Windows Phone 8. And I was like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Even at Telerik, when we were building some of our Windows Phone controls, there was one of the controls that was using it was for image manipulation, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't leave Windows Phone 7 users in the dust as well, because I still make money off of Windows Phone 7 apps that I've never even updated to Windows 8.
Wow. I
So
was going to say there's like 7
yeah,
Windows Phone 7 users out there.
yeah.
There can't be that many left at this point.
Ad Duplex is a site that they do banners and ads of that nature, and they usually will report their numbers of what they're seeing from phones. And Windows Phone 8 had 75% or 80% on one of the graphs that I looked at, and I was surprised about that. So there was somewhere around 15 to 20% that was still using Windows Phone 7, but that was just people that was using apps that used Ad Duplex. So that wasn't the whole market. So if we looked at the whole market, you would probably see, even less Windows Phone 7
Yeah.
devices.
Not a ton. Not very
Yeah.
engaged. Very engaged, the Windows Phone. This is like the old days when the Mac users were very engaged and the Windows were like, meh, and now you have your Android guys are like, meh, and your Windows Phone people are like, gotta have a Windows Phone. And I've got one. I've got the 520. I bought the unlocked 520. And
Yes, I asked you several questions about it.
yeah,
The 520 is the one I mentioned. Yes, I did. And I put the price down for 145.
oh, that's way too expensive.
Yeah, I said or
Yeah.
cheaper with the AT&T
You can
to
during
go.
Christmas time we found that thing was
$90.
$49
$49.
during Christmas. Yeah.
But was that with like a coupon or something like that?
Oh no, I think no, it was online, and it was at the actually I think it was the Microsoft store was
The
selling it
Microsoft Store?
for $49 on one of their deal door
Deal
buster.
deal
Yeah,
of the day type
yeah,
of
you had to
things?
be in person and those kinds of things. But even that being said, I went to our
Still
local
worth it.
Radio Shack just down the street here, and I found it for $69 with a cover and I think an 8 gig or whatever SD.
See,
And
that's incredible, and I mean that really is incredible. I'll tell you, picking like out of all of the different types of devices, the Windows Phone 8, especially if you're going to be able to put 8.1 on it, $60 or $70 or even $80, I would be more than willing to pay that, especially if that phone is unlocked. And my problem is that so I have multiple SIM cards because I have multiple phone numbers, and no, it's not because I'm
a drug dealer.
drug dealer. I'm thinking of Breaking Bad here.
Yeah.
If you've watched the Breaking Bad show, man, the dudes had SIM cards and phones, and they were like cracking them like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But I have them for different testing because, like, the iPhone 5 uses the Nano SIM, which I hate. I hate the Nano SIM. I wish that thing had never been created.
Well, you can't get a hold of it, right? When
Yeah,
you're
I
trying
know.
to, it sticks in there. Once it's like when you put it in, it's permanently in. You're like, you got to get some kind of weird thing to pull it out.
When I originally went, I had to trade in my mini sim for the Nano, and the guy gives it to me. I'm like, what am I even supposed to do with this? And obviously, there's no other phones care because the Nexus 5, the latest and greatest Android device, doesn't use it. Moto G doesn't use it. Windows Phone 8 doesn't use it. And then on our last time on the show, I showed the Firefox phone, and it didn't use it.
How
So
long did you hold on to that for, by the way? I forgot about the Firefox phone.
oh, I've still got it.
Do you?
Yeah, I've got it. It's in the background. If I
Nice.
lean over one of these ways, you'll see the box.
There it is, the most untalked about phone of all time, the Firefox phone.
It really should get a little bit of love. So there is a Pluralsight course. I didn't create it, but um, so I mean, there's no, I'm just telling you this. There is a Pluralsight course that's out there that's on how to develop apps for it, and really, it's not that bad. It's just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS3. So it's pretty easy for people to get up and started developing and building apps for it. Just right now, I have used the phone. I haven't used it to the point to where I put my SIM card in it and used it as a primary device. But I have carried it around with me and used either some sort of tethering or free Wi-Fi or whatever.
It's so far off the radar at this point, right?
It's,
I mean, nobody is talking about the Firefox phone.
Yeah, exactly. When I was at Oradev, that conference had one of the chief evangelists from Mozilla that was there, and he was talking, about it. Obviously, it's one of those phones. It's just going to take a little while to get there. I mean that's just kind of just the bottom line. I mean, we're seeing right now we've got all of these various phones. BlackBerry is trying, its final kind of push, for the enterprise.
They're done.
One thing that BlackBerry has going for them that nobody talks about and nobody ever mentions is that if you build an Android app, it's very easy to get that app onto a BlackBerry device. And a majority of people don't do that because they don't care, and there is a very low market share. I mean, I know it's not on my personal radar. BlackBerry isn't. I don't own a phone at this point that uses it.
Nobody does.
Yes, but it's real easy to port your app. That is one benefit to it if you want to get that 0.0111.
Yeah. Hey, let's transition
Yes.
a little bit. I don't want to run out of time, and I got some other things I want to talk about. One of the things, speaking of off the radar, and it's one of these weird topics that it shows up and then it kind of goes away, and it shows up and it goes away, and it made a big splash at CES, and that's 3D printing. And the early 3D printers that were out there were super expensive, and they were kind of quirky, and they weren't very good, and it seems like they've been getting better and better over the last couple years. And I know coming down in price, a little advertisement. I'm actually going to do a local podcast here at one of our high schools. They have a 3D printer, and one of the kids is going to come on the show and talk about how they're using it in high schools. And I think that's really kind of a cool average guy topic. But what are you seeing out there? I mean, I know that even at the CES 2014, all the awards were 3D printed this year. What are you seeing in the realm of 3D? That was one of the things that showed up on your list.
Yep, it is. It's one of the things that showed up on my list. It's so funny is that that list that I had posted. I can't tell you how many views because I don't monitor Google Analytics like I do. But DZone asked if they could republish it and put all of my info on it, and they published it, and I checked it today, and it had a little over 7,000 views.
Oh, nice.
Already.
Nice.
And even one of the companies, DocuSign, which has 40,000 followers, tweeted me today thanking me for adding them to the list. And I'm like, it was just a random list. I was literally just sitting down, put the kids to bed, and here's 13 things that I'm just thinking about. Yeah. But the 3D printers, this is the year. This is the year for 3D printing, and the only reason that I'm saying that is that I believe that affordability is something that we're all looking at. And now that we're coming down to the $300, $400 range, obviously they're the smaller versions. So you're not going to be able to print like a giraffe or a full-size giraffe, but you will be able to do things like print some maybe some figures, to just other random things for around the $400 price range, especially like cases and stuff. I saw there was a Nexus. This is a Nexus 5 case that was $10 on Amazon, and I found that you could get the 3D a 3D printed version of the same case. It didn't have this. This is actually uh, plastic, but it has a sticker that I put on the back of it, just of like New York City. But there's 3D printer files that's available for people that already has those devices where you don't even have to go to the store. Somebody was able to go ahead and distribute those for free. And there's a lot of there's sites that are now popping up for free 3D printables. Right now I think a lot of people are trying to figure out the legal aspects of all of this stuff. So they're getting that down pat, and what are what are we
right
going to
on.
do here, that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Well,
But
it's just like when cassette tapes came out, when DVDs came out, when all these kinds of media. We struggle with this with music and in digital music. Like it's okay, what are we going to do now that you can easily reproduce some of these things that were once sold? It's gonna have to be handled. We're gonna have to figure that out.
I mean, the thing is that the times are absolutely changing, and it goes back from even my early days or whatever, whenever you ordered something before Amazon Prime came around. I remember getting a catalog in the mail. I have to show my southern nature here, a Bass Pro Shops catalog, and I may want to order something from Bass Pro Shops. I would literally tear out a form, write my name and address, put a check in the items that I wanted, and then I would use a envelope and mail it, and then they would get it, and then the item would eventually come back to me. And then we moved from that to people starting to use like more of the phones and faxes where you didn't have to wait for an order to come through, and then BBSs, and then obviously now with the computer, with Amazon. And Amazon really nailed it with the 2-day Prime shipping, and they're really going to nail it next year with the air drone, or this year, if they're able to get it out with their drones.
Do you really think? Do you really think that's a viable? I mean, it sounds cool,
It
right?
it, it sounds
But there's
awesome.
so many problems with. I mean, okay, you're from the South, right? They were asking you earlier where that accent is from. So
Yes,
where'd you find that accent?
Birmingham, Alabama.
All right, I think I'm pretty
And
sure they got
and
that.
we lost the BCS national championship.
Yeah, you did. I'm sorry about that.
I had to cry. Well,
Sorry about that.
I didn't go to Auburn, so I went to UAB, which is the University of Alabama, but it's not the Tuscaloosa one. That is the one they were going to be
Right.
playing.
The Crimson Tide.
Yeah, they are the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
I went to the other one, so I always call myself. I'll go to the other Alabama.
The other one. Well, with these printers, I just I just lost my train of thought. Keep
3D
going.
printing drones is what you're talking
Drones is where we were headed. Yes.
about.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just can't see drones being, and you have that on your list. I just can't see this being a year where drones. I'm super skeptical. I just don't think it's scalable.
I'm going to tell you. So, like, we're seeing all of these crazy changes in like flights. So, next week at the end of the week, heading down to Atlanta to pick up my global entry, where I can enter and exit the country easier. Also get TSA pre-check, where I can cut through some lines without always having to have this crazy amount of status on Delta, because Delta awards you, if you have status and things like that. There's these Delta preferred lines and things. So we're seeing a lot of changes in aviation, especially when it comes to now you can on Delta flights and other flights. United is doing it right now as well. You can have your cell phones on, and then there's been other talks about keeping them on even longer than that. But the airspace is something that people have always been fighting over. And the reason that I'm really pumped about like these these drones is that this will be an absolute game changer.
Yeah,
And
but it's just too easy to shoot those things down.
I, I,
You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
I see people wanting to shoot them down. Well, so they're not able to enter a certain number. I can't remember how many feet, how high up they can go, but without invading the space
Right,
that they're
right,
monitoring.
right.
But I could see it really being something awesome. Amazon would be tracking those things as they're flying out. I can see big places like San Francisco giving this a shot, seeing how this works there.
I think that'd
Anywhere
be
that,
even harder in San Francisco because of it. It makes sense in a rural community because you've got a great place to land. In
yeah, but
San Francisco, I mean the this new movement towards these local Amazon boxes where you can go down to the drugstore and there's an Amazon, your package goes into this. It's basically a PO box. I think that's for the larger cities, just because it's already pretty congested, right? I would
that's
think the drones work pretty well in rural areas or suburbs. That's where I think they work the best, right? Where you have a mass amount of people, but they're spread out. Think of Dallas, right? I mean, I think
Dallas.
of, yeah, that would be Kansas City. Would be another perfect. There's no high rises in Kansas City. That's flat for miles, and that you could do drone deliveries there. I just, you know, pizza and boxes from Amazon, and
Well, see, even I
I don't
even
know.
put on there something that hadn't even been released, and that was Netflix. And so I've been looking at some rumors coming out of Netflix, and Netflix started the streaming thing, and the streaming thing worked absolutely well. $10 a month, unlimited streaming. We're no longer going to fight you if you and your spouse. Obviously, when I sit down to watch Netflix, I really don't want some random Grey's Anatomy or something showing up, and so they let people start picking their own profiles and things like that. So I see the same sort of thing, with Netflix that, you know, if they're not, they can't get away from. So when a new movie comes out, they have to right now keep it on DVD or Blu-ray format for a certain number of time before they get the rights to stream it, unless it's one of their original series. But by using drones, they would be able to, since there's so many distribution centers, they would be able to shoot those things up in the air and deliver them to you. And I don't know what the cost would be. I mean, you got to think
Yeah.
about that too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Um,
It certainly adds a huge element of expense to be able to pull this off. Although can't be that much different than a big diesel truck that drives around town all day, with a guy dropping off boxes.
I mean,
It can't be that much more expensive than that.
but I can see just how cool would it really be. Like my son, he just turned 6, and I was just thinking, right now, like an iPad and like touch interfaces and stuff like that is just absolutely natural to him. And he totally doesn't get any of the other types of input methods. I mean, it's just touch. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he's used to. And I can see, especially in his lifetime and and those to come, we're America, and everybody else is kind of the same way, even though they don't admit it. We're in this instant gratification of things, and so uh, getting our packages, whoever can win that war of getting that stuff delivered to us, so we place an order and 30 minutes later it shows up on our doorstep, is going to be very, very wealthy.
Yeah. Well, so to come full circle, I actually feel like the process of this is not going to happen through drones. It's going to happen through 3D printing. So
Th-
I think
that would be so sweet.
you order your thing from Amazon and it says, "Hey, this item is eligible for printing," right?
So
And
Yeah, so
It
you get
goes.
the 3D file.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about we talk about the copying aspect of it, right? So what happens now? So how do they get around it? Well, you paid 99 cents to get music, right? When everybody was copying it before, and for the most part, everybody's okay with that now. I
People are
think,
fine with paying 99 cents.
yeah. So imagine if you don't have to ship that thing anymore, and you can have it made on premise. Imagine how much cheaper that would be if you were using your own materials to, right? Because you got to buy the materials for that 3D printer. And
Yep.
so you would say, okay, I'm going to buy it on Amazon. It's 40% less if I print it myself. And when I buy it, I buy the digital rights to print that item on my printer, and then it prints. That's what I think will happen before we get drones.
It would be that would be absolutely cool, but that would obviously require everybody to have one in their homes, and it took a long time, if in the past for everybody just to get internet connections. And um, America, obviously hasn't hit the 100% mark, nowhere near it. There's
Well, look
uh,
how fast we got cell phones, right? I mean,
yeah,
look how fast we went to smartphones. I
yeah.
think the adoption, especially if people realize they could save money, right? Again, not everybody's going to get it. It's going to be very limited at first, but imagine if,
Well,
you could save money doing this. I saw the article on CES. They're talking about printing a house using a 3D printer, right? With
yeah,
those kind.
that's
That's a little far-fetched, right? I get it,
yeah.
but
And when you think of that, you're thinking like, oh my goodness, like really, like so. This is like Legos.
exactly. Exactly. Well, the materials matter. I mean, this is the key thing is what in when we were when I was at the MVP conference, they were talking about, as in one of the sessions where they're talking about those really crappy keyboards that they made for the Surface, and they said what we learned is that we needed more touch sensors, actually on the keyboard, and so those are printed, right? The circuits on those keyboards are printed on there. And so the material is what matters in there. They have this highly conductive paint that they use when they paint it on there. Imagine what will happen when we get the availability to more and more materials that can be printed or put together, right? And
Oh,
then you could start, especially some of the plastic stuff that we use, right? That's a huge candidate for 3D printing right now, right? Anything plastic for the most part, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so, well, I mean, the other thing, with it, we were seeing at CES was talking about 3D, was really the death of 3D televisions or 3D glasses to use with those televisions. So there's, I think Vizio was the first one that has pulled the plug on 3D TVs. So they're not going to be investing in 3D technology
Yeah, it's
for the
silly. It's
televisions.
silly. If you go back, we for 2 years we've been talking about 3D TV and been like, why?
So
You know?
my dad bought one, and my dad he's into the same sort of thing. Some of the same sort of things that I'm into. Obviously not all, but so he bought one of those televisions, and I watched a movie or two that had the 3D, and I had the glasses on and stuff. And there's only like so many items that they can throw at you on the screen before it's like, really, you're gonna throw another like axe at me?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean, come on. And then, like, Shrek and some of the other movies or whatever, they're throwing random apples and just
right.
stuff. It's like,
Just stuff to take advantage of the 3D.
yeah, they just want to do something to take advantage of it. They're like, I don't know really what to do with this technology, but
Yeah, I don't like it. We saw the
here's
first
something.
Hobbit movie in 3D, and I didn't like it, and I had to go back and watch it again in 2D. And then this time, when the new movie came out, I said to my wife, "We're not watching that in 3D."
I did. I
Okay.
made the mistake. I was actually with some friends, and we watched Prometheus for the very first time with 3D, and I couldn't stand it. And so I had to wait at that point because this was in an IMAX 3D theater. I had to wait until it came out on Blu-ray in order to watch the movie the way that I wanted to watch it. So
Yeah.
I already knew the story. I knew how it ended. I knew everything about it, and I'm a huge Ridley Scott fan. My son is named Ridley, just to tell you how big of a fan I am of Ridley Scott, and that he is named after the director. I convinced my wife to go with Ridley, but
Nicely done.
yeah, so yeah, I had to wait till the Blu-ray came out.
Hey, let's transition. We got time for kind of one more topic off your list, and
Okay.
it has nothing to do with technology. So if you're listening to the show either live or recorded, I don't want you to turn it off at this point because I think this is a very important topic. It's one I deal with as a recruiter for Gallup, and I recruit technology, software developers every day. That's what I do. I've developed a high school and college internship program at Gallup that is designed to teach and train students to make their way into the job world through software development. So I'm a lot of this. You had mentioned in your article that you feel like resumes and degrees are becoming less important. And this is something I've been saying for a long time, but talk a little bit about why you think so, because I know there are still some industries like the government, the U.S. government, that still mandate that you have these kinds of things. But what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so like okay, so the first thing is that I've said this before, and the very first response that I got that came back to me was that, oh, well, you must be saying that because you don't have a degree. And I was able to say safely, I do have a degree. I have a 4-year degree. I didn't go further than that. I graduated in computer science with a minor in electrical engineering. So it wasn't anything about me not graduating and being like, angry at somebody for getting a degree and me not getting one or anything like that. It was that, so when I first got a degree, to me, it was the most important thing in the world. It was like, woohoo, I've got a piece of paper. This is 4 years of really hard work. So I did learn a lot of the basics. I learned a lot of things that I can apply today. I mean, there's some things that just don't go away, like in software development. But I look back over the courses that I took, and you won't believe this, but I spent I had went to a community college first, and then I went to UAB. I had spent actually 2 semesters. This was back when they were doing semesters, um, um, more primarily uh, learning COBOL, coded business-oriented language, and then I spent another 2 semesters using RPG. And while there are jobs that use that, I never, even when the day that I graduated, I never used that, and I put that on resumes because I was thinking that may be something helpful and stuff, but I never used any of that part of it. All the things that I used was the skills that anybody that had passion for software development could pick up. I mean, there's a million great, well, not another million. There's probably 6 or 7 books, Gang of Four, design patterns. There's lots of software craftsmanship books. Java, oh my goodness. I mean, that's something get into, grab, learn it. There's free courses. Harvard offers some of these free courses. MIT courseware is out there that's available. Really, at Telerik, everybody that comes into our uh, uh, group, I interview. I'm usually one of the very first people that interviews them, and then it goes on to some of the other people. So I'm kind of like the first pick, and I never in any of my interviews that I have worked at Telerik, I have brought up, well, what degree do you have?
Yeah, no,
Um,
it doesn't get it. It doesn't get asked a lot, I don't think. In some circles, there are others where it really does matter. I mean, I don't want to breeze over this because I've got family that does government stuff and you are gonna need to have the right degree from the right school to get some of these high level government jobs or these very technical. If you're gonna work in R&D at IBM, you're gonna have a PhD. You're gonna have it, right?
and
So
yeah,
there are things where it does matter, but I think when we talk about software development, and I think to get into your point, one of the things that I look for is what are you doing right now? Show me some things that you are doing right now, right? Show me your passions outside of work. Show me some code that you've written. Give me some things you've actually done, because we're in software development, right? We're more worried about it. It changes faster. When we talk about all these changes in technology with watches and Wi-Fi and printers and stuff like that. But the software development world is changing just as fast, if not faster.
Oh,
And
oh.
so, yeah, I tell students all the time, man, you got to be developing all the time.
So, when I teach, and when, like I was saying earlier, I talk, I teach some classes on C Sharp, and C Sharp's just been a language that I fell in love with a long, long time ago. Obviously now, I'm doing a lot of Objective-C as well as Java for Android development, but I really wish I had spent more time in, and we did have some Java classes and stuff when I was doing my CIS degree, but it still wasn't one of those things that we weren't doing anything beyond, there was Hello World and tip calculators and things like that, that we were doing, but there wasn't a lot of things that was beyond that. But yeah, I mean, and the resumes is like the other thing, that I had mentioned. Um, while a candidate recently sent me their resume, and it was 6 or 7 pages, and there is absolutely no way I would spend time looking over 6 and 7 pages when, number one, I can go and I can look at your social media account. I can see, what you're tweeting about, and if you've got a blog, which I would really hope you would, um, especially at Telerik. Everybody's got blogs. Everybody shares constantly what they're doing, what they're learning. The whole reason that I got into blogging was because my memory 6 months from now, I probably can't remember what it was that I was working on, or what it was, or how I fixed a certain problem. So I started blogging it really just for selfish reasons. It was because I couldn't remember crap, and it was best if I just went ahead, especially in the early Silverlight days, and that was where I really started getting noticed, was just blogging my own problems and solutions to them, and just distributing that link out. And because I had team members that would come to me and they would be like, "Oh, Michael, how do you do this?" And it was like, "Yeah, I'm not explaining that again. Here's here's my blog. Here's my
Yeah,
blog post. You can
yeah,
go read that." So my internal blog was in the corporate, Wikipedia, as well. So yeah, I'm at the point to where, GitHub obviously isn't the end all of source control. I have a GitHub account. It's active. Is it all greens, which, obviously means you're active, very, all the time? No, it's not. It's active enough. I don't publish as much as I would like to my public repositories, which is the ones that everybody sees. I have my private repos from our company, and you'll see more greens in that area than you'll see in my public stuff. But what I was really meaning, especially like with like adding in, show me your GitHub account, is just whatever cool stuff you've been working on. Even like, like I have some Codeplex projects that I had worked on. Show us some apps. We interviewed one guy, a guy that I actually referred into the company, and instead of a resume, and this isn't with me saying, I don't like resumes, or the degrees don't matter, and this person did not have a degree. They came in with an interview and with a resume, and their resume back at the time, this was when Silverlight was pretty hot, was actually a Silverlight application built using our controls that was a resume.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
showed what they were able to do with our controls.
yeah.
Needless to say, that person got the job. They're still there today. They're doing very, very well with the company. And, you know, like I said, no degree, just came in and showed something that they had built that was really, really cool, and something that, nobody prompted them to build. It
Uh,
was,
Tony Rayner's making a great point out in chat. This isn't what we're talking about. Isn't universally accepted. Like, he's bringing up the medical industry, and that's a completely different industry, guys. And I think we're talking a lot about tech and some of those things here, and kind of what we see in the trends around tech. So I
If you
think
Yeah, if you look at
take
my
that.
back, if you look at my background on LinkedIn, MB Crump, you'll see that my background is all in the medical world. I worked at McKesson for 5 years. I spent 5 years at McKesson. I spent another 3 years at Children's Hospital. I've done a lot of different certifications for Eclipsis, which is now Allscripts. So in those industries, Birmingham is a very UAB, more specifically, is a hospital that celebrities come to. We have celebrities. I know Alabama. We have celebrities coming from all over to UAB for our heart doctors. These are some of the best heart doctors. Also, sports medicine doctors. Bo Jackson, even though he's from here, but there's been a lot of other celebrities that have come here. But if you live in this area, the medical um, world is what you're going to face. And when I entered these medical jobs, the degrees was all over it, and today the degrees are still all over the websites. And it's one of those things that while the government and the healthcare and a lot of these other guys are going to like stay behind, and they're not just behind in they're picking their people, because I'm a big remote worker advocate as well. I believe in order to absolutely form the best possible team, they cannot all coexist in the same exact location. You may get the one off that everybody is completely awesome, and you may work with some really awesome team, but to get the best of the breed, I really believe that people just don't. It's impossible.
Well, even today, I wasn't feeling well, and I didn't want to go in and spread it through work. And I was able to do. I didn't work all day. I took a couple naps. I'm just being honest. I was sick. In fact, I'm fading right now. But it was one of those situations where it helped to be able to work from home and have access to a lot of the stuff that I do. And to be able to get that done, I did a conference call and video conference. We worked out. Yeah, we're doing a podcast on Monday, and I was able to get them all lined up and answer a ton of emails. And so yeah, you've got to be able to work remotely. Michael, let me cut you off at this point because I am starting
Yeah.
to fade, and we have we have gone an hour and 20, and I try and keep the recorded version of the podcast to that. Lots
Gotcha.
of great information on that
It was
post.
fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming out, and I've got a few things to cover before we sign off, and then we can stay around a little bit. And I can cough then, and it's not so bad because it's not recorded. But Michael, I want to thank you for coming out. That blog post, I will put it in our show notes so you can go out and take a look at that. Really some good information. Debate them on it. See if maybe you think things are a little bit different. And
Yeah.
in your blog, let me go back to that just in case folks want to go out and grab it. It is just michaelcrump.net. That's the best place to go out, right?
Yeah, and one of the things is that I had and I still have a really bad problem with spammers. And I've already set up filters for that, but I've had to turn it off to the point to where I have to moderate every comment now. I'm using let's see, I tried to use another filter, but it wasn't working. So
Well,
not all of the comments are
we'll
showing
have
right
them
now.
come over to the So if you want to,
Yeah.
if you got a question for Michael, come to, and this will be theaverageguy.tv/HT150. Actually, we're up to 150 shows now. And 150. And if you want to make a comment for Michael, post it there because I don't have a spam problem. And then I'll let Michael know that he's got a post over there and he can
Yeah.
respond to you at the average guy.
That would
TV.
That would be great, and I've already had people disagree with. I think the third comment down was somebody disagreeing on the resume, the resume part. And the thing is that that's totally fine. I mean, nobody has to, these are just my opinions. And the thing is that there is some cases that especially CTOs and things like that. I know personally looking master's degrees and things of that nature are brought up a lot for those positions, but
and they can keep them.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
could keep those. I'm perfectly content where I'm at. And I just have,
Well,
it's interestingly enough, my bachelor's is in humanities and Bible,
uh,
right? I have a Christian liberal arts degree that I thought I was going to go work in the church here in the U.S. And I found out that technology was a lot more fun and it made
yeah,
more money, to
yeah,
be honest.
yeah. Well, and the thing is that a lot of people change. I think at one point I was doing some sort of business administration. I mean, you're young, you
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? You're young and you're just trying to figure things out. I'm trying to even think of what I even signed up for. But no, I didn't originally go into CIS.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just a lot of times that's a perfect example of when they hired me, they asked me questions about what I knew, not what I had learned, right? And I hear this from a lot of college students now. I'm like, so do you know Java? And they're like, yes, I took Java, 101 and 102. Okay, it's not really what I'm asking. Do you know Java? Show me, right? Let's do something that where a class does not make you a developer. And
Exactly.
we find lots of times there is a kind of a personality that makes good developers, and we're always looking for that kind of personality there. So, well, let me wrap this up real quick. Stay around for the post show. Michael, don't go far. We'll spend a little time chatting afterwards, but want to kind of bring this one in for a landing. Want to let you know if you're a regular listener to the show, great way to listen to it if you haven't tried it is Stitcher. And I actually made the switch 2 weeks ago over to Stitcher full time. I'm a Beyond Pod user, and so if you're on Android and you're using, I think Beyond Pod's the best pod catcher that's out there. But Stitcher's not a bad alternative. If you go to Stitcher.com, you can sign up for an account, and then these shows, and plus everything else we do, home service shows, Surface Geeks, financial tech, everything I do is available out there at Stitcher. Stitcher.com. You get on your phone and basically listen to it anywhere. Not a bad way. Check that out. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. I'd love to get your feedback on that. We're just trying to get people to automatically subscribe to podcasts, so give that a try. Stitcher.com. A reminder that Saturday morning, hopefully I'll be well enough, we've been doing Ask the Podcast Coach with Dave Jackson. I'm on that show over at schoolofpodcasting.com/live. About an hour's worth of talk just for the podcaster. So you can call in, send your questions in. Dave and I spend some time talking about those and answer your questions around podcasting. With about 400 or 500 podcasts under my belt, I probably know a few things maybe about podcasting. So come on out. Schoolofpodcasting.com/live. Saturday mornings, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, and it's a live 1-hour call-in show. I'd love to have you out there. And then I do want to thank you. We had a great month of December for the Average Guy Tech Scholarship Fund, and that's where you buy at Amazon, you use our link, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. I take those dollars and give them back away to listeners through these scholarships, and then they do a review and they post those on there. We've had some good posts. Gordon just posted all his stuff on the Nest, and actually he has another post coming to talk about how we used it. I want to thank Gordon and Kevin for a great show last week that we did around the Nest smoke detector, and I kept calling it CO2, and it's really CO detector. So I felt pretty ignorant when I went back and listened to that podcast again. But those guys did a great job. We've got a couple more things out, and maybe you reviewing something. So let me know. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. If you got an item, we like to keep it around $100. And if you got an item you'd like me to buy for you, ship it to you, you will use it, review it, you come on the show or write a post. And it's just good community. That's what we do. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon, and we get a little bit of credit for that, and then that goes back into the account. About $250 each month of November and December. So I appreciate you guys doing your Christmas purchases through that. I'm at like $3 this month, however. So you guys have all stopped buying at this point, and that's okay. It's January. We got to pay the bills somehow, and just don't forget to use the Average Guy link when you are out there. We are out here. If this is your first time, we're out on Home Tech every Thursday night, and actually we're making the jump to Home Gadget Geeks here fairly quickly. I'm hoping maybe by the end of the first quarter we'll be making the name change. A new site is coming. If you're in the inner circle of, or you followed me on Twitter for whatever reason, I've been posting out a little sneak peek at what the new sites will look like, and we have those. They're about halfway done. I've got some design work that needs to be done on some of those. If you want to see a sneak peek of the site, send me a note on Twitter at @jcollison, and I will tweet back to you the link to it. You can get a special sneak peek of what's going on or what's coming for both the average guy and for Home Gadget Geeks. We do this every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, and we appreciate you, and I thank you, the listener, for coming out and being a part of what we do each and every week. It's a great community, and I really enjoy it. Michael, thank you again for coming out. And
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And we'll do it all again next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern at theaverageguy.tv live. Good night, everybody.